By now, you have probably realized that life is difficult. It is filled with stress, pain, rejection, and a lot of negativity. But with the right attitude, life can be enjoyable. This is fairly easy for some people, while others are prone to living a life of misery. We will get back to this in a little while. You see, life is a mental game. You can have your dream job, a terrific family, and more money in your bank account than you will ever need. But if you are not mentally and emotionally stable, nearly everything in your life will be negatively impacted, such as your education, your career, your relationships, your health, and your happiness. Think about it. Have you ever been in a bad mood at school? Feeling frustrated, sad, overwhelmed, worried? How easy is it to concentrate on your schoolwork or pay attention to what the teacher is saying? Mental stability is vital to your overall success. We all face challenges that cause us to have bad moments. But when every day seems like such a burden and your life is absent of joy, we need to address that. In the fall of 2021, my daughter Kelsey was spiraling out of control from an anxiety attack and said to me, "Mom, I think it would just be easier if I fell asleep and never again woke up." The pain she was suffering was so intense that dying seemed like the only way to find peace. I know that pain. Unfortunately, I have experienced it many times. For nearly 40 years of my life, anxiety consumed me mentally, emotionally, and physically. I was suffering from a mental health condition known as chronic anxiety. Needless to say, I was absolutely horrible at playing the mental game of life. Let me give you a little snapshot of how I spent my elementary, middle, and high school years. I worried all the time. I worried as soon as I woke up in the morning and until I fell asleep at night. I was so anxious that I was constantly sick to my stomach. I had to force myself to eat. I dreaded going to school every day. I feared that I would fail, forget to do an assignment, or make a fool out of myself. Although I was a straight-A student, good grades did not come easy. I was constantly overwhelmed with completing homework and studying for tests. I appeared to have friends, but in reality, I was very lonely. I felt like I never fit in and envied the social life of the popular kids. I smiled a lot, but I was in so much pain. It drove me crazy when people would say, "It's gonna be okay," or that I would be fine. I was not fine. I was worried, sick, and I didn't know how to stop worrying. Mental health issues are nothing to be ashamed of, but they should not be ignored. Everyone struggles with something from time to time, or in my case, on an hourly basis. But that does not mean we all have mental disorders or are mentally ill. It just means we're human. Let's take a look at 12 factors that can easily wreak havoc on our mental stability. Number 1, failure. Although failure is a part of life, it sure isn't fun, and it definitely doesn't build confidence. Just don't give up. You will eventually find the path to success. After all, you can't fail if you keep trying. Number 2, family issues. Being at odds with your parents, constantly being misunderstood, or maybe a loved one is just absent, like they're serving in the military. Or maybe they're absent because they're so overwhelmed with their own mental and emotional issues that now you lack a support system. Sadly, abuse can easily fall into this category. Number 3, divorce or marital problems. This can lead to a lot of tension in the household. Arguments, silent treatment, one parent talking negatively to you about the other parent, making you feel as though you must choose a side. Or maybe it's a dating or blended family situation where your mom or dad's significant other is causing a lot of frustration or difficulties. And let's not forget about those stepbrothers or sisters that can terrorize your overall peace. Number 4, health problems. Even a headache can disrupt your mental state. Maybe you or a loved one are struggling with longer-term health issues that make you feel scared, sad, or even hopeless. Number 5, financial hardships. Even temporary hardships can lead to a lot of stress. Let's face it, money may not make you happy, but it sure does help buy the things that you need and desire. When a person's budget is negatively impacted, it can quickly destabilize the mindset. Number 6, death or tragedy. This is pretty self-explanatory, but I am not just talking about human death or tragedy. Grieving the loss of our pets can be just as devastating. Number 7, loneliness. This is when you feel like you just don't fit in, or you lack a sense of belonging. Even when surrounded by others, you still feel alone. Number 8, lack of human connection. Do you ever wonder if anyone really knows you or wants to get to know you? Maybe there is no one in your life who you trust. Do you lack a healthy support network? All these things can make a person feel isolated. Number 9, rejection. Unfortunately, rejection is a part of life. But when someone or something pushes us away, it can lead to heartbreak. It really hurts when you are not appreciated or accepted for who you really are. The healing process can take a lot of time, but I promise surviving the pain is possible. Number 10, lack of passion or purpose. If you feel like your life lacks meaning, my best advice is that you focus on helping others, whether it be people or animals. Making a positive difference in someone or something else's life can be extremely satisfying. Number 11, social media. Now, I did not grow up with cell phones, Snapchat, Instagram, or TikTok, so it is difficult for me to put myself in your shoes. However, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to realize that a constant feed of social media content can be detrimental. You see, the teenage brain is like a sponge, trying to absorb all the information that is pumped into it. At this stage, you are highly influenced, emotionally charged, and can be easily overwhelmed. You can get caught up in the comparison trap, which typically leads to negative thoughts and feelings. And number 12, insecurities. For many of us, middle school is where most of our insecurities began. Those years of awkward growth stages, relentless pimples, and classmates preying on your weaknesses can be insufferable. It is common for childhood insecurities to stay with a person for several years of their adult life. It's just brutal. Here's the deal. Most of us don't go around telling people what is really going on in our personal lives. Instead, we try to conceal it. Yet our behavior can be a dead giveaway that something is affecting our stability. I will give you some examples. When some people are sad or under a lot of pressure, they might resort to telling jokes, acting silly, and laughing at every opportunity, while others might lash out at both living and non-living things, or simply just withdraw and go into hiding. People who throw pity parties feel sorry for themselves because things are not going their way. They typically express their annoyance or disapproval by sulking or scowling. Those who consistently brag or put themselves down are typically insecure. And on the flip side, people who appear to be mean or not nice may be reacting to the pain of rejection. Hey, if they push people away first, then they can avoid being rejected again. We don't know everyone's story, and if we did, we would probably be kinder and more compassionate. What I do know is that our reaction to life's circumstances is directly linked to how we are naturally wired. This is what ultimately drives our thoughts and behavior. Remember when I said some people are prone to living a life of misery? Welcome to my world. You see, I am naturally wired to fear the unknown and fear taking risks. I like to control my environment at all times for security and safety reasons. I hate unresolved conflict or a lack of closure. And I think of the worst case scenarios and then envision them happening. Let's take a deeper look at how I naturally think. My husband travels out west for business quite often. Before I got a handle on my anxiety issues, I used to envision him getting into a massive car accident while in California. The doctors would inform me that he is in a vegetative state and cannot be moved from the hospital. So now, I just lost my best friend to a 20-year coma, and if I want to see him every day, I will have to move from Florida to California. It quickly dawns on me that I am going to be financially ruined. Since my husband no longer has an income, his health insurance coverage will eventually run out, and the mounting medical bills will be my responsibility to pay. I begin to fear what the future holds, feel completely out of control over the entire situation, and cannot for the life of me find a solution to this huge problem. That, I must remind you, is a problem that I totally made up in my head. Hey, I never said the anxious mind was rational. So this is an example of how my thoughts would send me into a death spiral. It's no wonder why I was a nervous wreck. Eventually, I was tired of living this way. I knew I would have to become mentally strong to defeat chronic anxiety. So how does one do that? Well, I'm glad you asked. Think of it this way. If you want to become physically strong, you probably realize that this does not happen overnight. You do not just wake up in the morning physically fit with big muscles. It takes determination, dedication, and a lot of time. Once you have achieved your desired results, you need to continue putting forth the effort that's required to maintain your physical strength. You must be intentional, or else you will eventually lose muscle and become weak. Mental health is the same way. If you want to be strong both mentally and emotionally, then you must put forth the required effort. Once I decided to win back my sanity, I put 6 steps and 10 healthy habits in place to strengthen my mindset. To hear the details of all the steps and habits, please listen to my podcast titled Free Your Mind, Part 1 and Part 2. If you are curious to learn more about my personal struggle with anxiety, feel free to listen to my 3 podcasts individually titled Inside the Anxious Mind, Defeating Anxiety, and Worried Sick. I finally realized that if I wanted to enjoy life, then I would have to find ways to be happy. After all, I am the only one responsible for my happiness. Let me say that again. I am the only one responsible for my happiness, which means you are the only one responsible for your happiness. Please do not place that responsibility onto someone else. He or she will inevitably fail to meet your every expectation. I found happiness by implementing little things to look forward to throughout each day, and then I do them. For example, while I am making breakfast in the morning, I watch episodes of my favorite sitcoms like Seinfeld or The Big Bang Theory. This allows me to start off my day relaxed and filled with laughter. Believe it or not, one of the greatest joys I have is talking with someone who wants a more satisfying and successful future. It is therapeutic for me to help people with their self-image, relationships, career path, or mental health. So if I can be that support person for you, please reach out to me. I beg you not to struggle through life as I did for nearly 40 years. It would be my pleasure to teach you the life skills that I wish someone had taught me many decades ago. To gain access to more of my podcasts, feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel or visit my website, thriveintherealworld.com. Thanks for listening.